Okay, now that you have your shoe drawn, the next part is looking at it with highlight and shadow. And one of the things I want you to think about is there's really two places that we're going to be adding shadow: on the shoe and around the shoe. So you've got shadowing that happens with any kind of light, any kind of three-dimensional object has highlight and shadow. You have highlight and shadow on you right now if you're in a room with some type of light, even dim light. So there's lights and darks to everything. And then usually if there's a light source, there's some type of shadow happening around. So in order to make it look a little bit more believable, I always like to draw a line for a table. And that just helps you anchor your shoe. Suddenly it's sitting and resting on something. It's within a space. And a table wouldn't be at the very edge. It's behind it. Your shoe's sitting on a table. Once you get that, I recommend starting with doing some shadowing around it. And this is where sometimes a sharp pencil, really sharp pencil, can be helpful. And then I actually hold it totally different. I don't hold it like I'm writing or drawing. I hold it kind of on the side. And I'm going to start, and I'm looking at my shoe here, and I'm noticing the biggest shadow right now is right underneath right here. And I'm going to try to make sure that people can tell it's not the shoe. I've got that. And then over here too. And I am going to just define my lines here of my shoe a little bit more. And actually, something like a shoe that you stand on that really holds a lot of weight, that is something that is kind of an artist's trick to kind of make the bottom of something like that that's heavy or has weight to it, have a heavier line. Now with a real good pencil, you can kind of pull with your fingers some of that shadowing out. So it's easier if you've done like the side of your pencil, and you can kind of pull this out. Now I'm noticing I have some pretty dramatic lights on my shoe so that you can see the video pretty easily. But a lot of times, like under here, if you've got the light coming this way, you're gonna have some shadowing where the light's not getting underneath this part. And then just anywhere kind of around the shoe. But notice where the shadows are. I'm sure if you're sitting someplace where there is light right above, there's going to be some good shadowing right around your shoe here. And maybe a little bit out here too. And maybe even a little bit around. But if you soften that down like this, that will help everyone kind of be communicated that that is shadow when it's softer like that. Because shadows aren't just black and white. There's a lot of space in between. Gradation is sort of what we call lots of a scale of lights and darks. So already that's making my shoe look pretty dramatically more real just by adding the highlight and shadow around it. So now imagine by putting it on. Now I have a lot of really good details here. So there's some things that I'm not going to color too hard on. I'm going to actually start with underneath my shoelaces. Like if I look at my shoe here, it's really easy for there to be light that gets blocked with those shoelaces. So I'm going to take this pencil and I'm going to just kind of do some little coloring, and I'm going to smooth it down. And that smoothness will be understood as being more of a shadow. And if you wanted to, like in my case, I might darken some of these a little bit. And then get some of my shadow down here. But you want to not do it in just one spot. Like you want to kind of figure out where that shadow is going to go. But definitely you're going to have some shadowing under there. Now make sure your drawing's all the way done. You don't want to jump ahead, because it's really hard to draw and shadow at the same time when you're learning how to draw. And then even this side of the shoe has a lot. This is like, I'm going to kind of put in a little bit of a darker because it was pretty dark over here. Gonna get that in there. And get that kind of nice and dark in there. Then obviously the one part of your shoe that really is going to have a deep shadow is going to be inside. Even, I mean, mine happens to be black, and like I said, I didn't want you to necessarily color things the colors that they are, but this is definitely a spot where inside my shoe, the deeper part, is going to have less light, even if the light's right above. So that's a space to really get in kind of dark. And then you can kind of slowly work your way up. I'm trying to do a little less pressure than I just did with my pencil. And that's going to help bring some of this up here. And already that shoe is starting to look more three-dimensional. Now, what you want to do on the outside, you don't want to do too much this first time when you're learning how to draw. You want to focus mostly on the lines and the details and the textures, which I've done here with this shoe. But my shoe is pretty well worn. So I have to say, across here, this is a spot where I have some shadowing because my shoe's bent there a lot. Walking the dog a lot. So I'm going to get that kind of shadow in there. And then even like right here, and this is something you do slowly, and like I said, with the side of your pencil. Now, if you have like an ebony pencil or any kind of charcoal or anything like that, most people don't. And then you're not going to have that. I feel like right around here, I've got a little shadow too. And then on the side of my shoe, definitely underneath here, because the shoe comes, you know, up and around a little bit. So like this area tends to have a little bit more shadowing right there. And sometimes around like the seams of the shoe, like right around like that, where it kind of bows out right around the fabric part as it comes into the sole. So that spot can sometimes have a little extra shadow. So take a second to notice. Sometimes it's kind of nice to do some dramatic lighting. I mean, I kind of have some dramatic lighting right now, but what I mean by that is either really, really bright for some highlights or some really remove some of the lights so that you've got some extra shadowing going on here. And let's see, around here, like I've got this little thing that's hanging out. So this is blocking some of the light here. And I'm just gonna probably, like, even where you have like a shoelace hanging down, you might have a little bit of shadowing extra if that's blocking something. I think that's pretty good. I don't want to overdo it. I'm sure I could find a couple more spots, but just getting all of that little bit of shadowing on there, it's made a dramatic difference. And that's something where it's one simple step that kind of brings you to a more completed drawing, just a little tiny bit of extra. So take your time with your shadowing, and if you needed to do a highlight, like if you overshadowed something, just take your eraser and just really softly kind of pull some of that off and kind of blend it back in again. It's not like a hard erase if you wanted to pull out something a little bit. Okay, good luck. I can't wait to see how you transform your shoes with just a little bit of the highlight and shadow. Good luck.